Retro Road Test. The 1987 Ford Sierra RS Cosworth vs the 1987 BMW M3, an Anglo-German Grudge match. When it comes to motoring rivalries, few can touch the cultural and engineering tussle that defined the late 1980s. The decade was a time of stone-washed jeans, red braces, brick-sized mobile phones, and a global obsession with turbochargers. And at the sharp end of performance motoring, two cars were slugging it out not only for track supremacy but for pub bragging rights, the Ford Sierra RS Cosworth and the BMW M3. Both arrived in 1986-87, both designed with one clear mission: win on Sunday, sell on Monday, and both became icons, albeit in very different ways. The Sierra Cosworth was the Essex wide boy in a baseball cap, all spoilers and boost, with a soundtrack like an angry kettle. The M3, meanwhile, was the Berlin sophisticate, tailored, precise, engineered to within an inch of its Bavarian life, and carrying itself with a faint air of superiority. Put simply, this wasn't just a car comparison, it was a clash of cultures. Britain, well, Germany, but with Ford badges stuck on, versus Germany. Turbo grunt versus naturally aspirated finesse. A whale-tail Ford that looked like it had escaped from a BTCC paddock versus a BMW that looked suspiciously like the one driven by the estate agent showing you round a flat in Surbiton, until you noticed the box arches and the way it idled like it wanted to pick a fight. So, let's set the scene. It's 1987, we've got both cars, a deserted bit of tarmac, and about 2,500 words to find out which one deserves the bragging rights. The cars in brief. Ford Sierra RS Cosworth, 1987. Engine, 2.0-litre, 4-cylinder, turbocharged, Cosworth YB. Power, 204 bhp at 6,000 rpm. Torque, 205 pound-feet at 4,500 rpm. 0-60 miles per hour, 6.2 seconds. Top speed, 149 miles per hour. Drive, rear-wheel drive, 5-speed manual. Weight, around 1,240 kilograms. Styling, big whale-tail rear wing, aggressive body kit, bonnet vents, subtle as a punch in the face. BMW M3, E30, 1987 spec. Engine, 2.3-litre, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated, S14. Power, 197 bhp at 6,750 rpm. Torque, 177 pound-feet at 4,750 rpm. 0-60 miles per hour, 6.7 seconds. Top speed, 146 miles per hour. Drive, rear-wheel drive, 5-speed manual, dogleg first. Weight, around 1,200 kilograms. Styling, box-arched aggression but in a crisply pressed suit, your accountant, but in boxing gloves. First impressions, looks that kill, or cure. Park the two side by side, and you instantly see the difference in philosophy. The Sierra Cosworth looks like it's been designed by someone who had a ruler in one hand and a JPS cigarette in the other. It's all flat panels and then, out of nowhere, a rear wing so vast it could double as a coffee table. People don't so much see a Cosworth as they sense it, like a tremor in the force or a pint glass being slid across the sticky carpet of a pub in Dagenham. The BMW M3, on the other hand, is altogether more restrained, at least until you clock the arches, the chin spoiler, and that cheeky little rear wing. Where the Ford shouts, the BMW smirks. It's the difference between someone blasting Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood out of a boombox, and someone quietly ordering a fine Riesling while casually letting you know they also bench press twice their body weight. Inside the machines, the Ford greets you with acres of grey plastic, square dials, and an overall feeling that it's just a Sierra with go faster bits glued on. Which, of course, it is. The Recaro seats are superb, hugging you like a mate you haven't seen since Glastonbury, and the chunky gear lever falls nicely to hand. But subtlety? Forget it. It's all very functional, very let's get on with it with about as much finesse as a pie and chips. The BMW's cabin, meanwhile, is textbook Teutonic discipline. The dash is angled towards the driver, the seats are firm, and everything feels built to withstand both Nürburgring curbs and a direct hit from the Red Army. It's not luxurious, but it is purposeful. The dogleg gearbox might confuse your average escort driver, but to the enthusiast, it's a sign you're in something serious. Engines, Turbo Fury VSN / a Purity. Here's where the philosophies really split. The Cosworth's YB engine is a masterpiece of 1980s engineering. Developed by Cosworth and turbocharged to within an inch of its life, it makes 204 bhp, which was a staggering figure in the mid-80s for a family hatchback. But the way it delivers it is pure old-school turbo, nothing, 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 and then, bam, you're being catapulted down the road like a ferret on Red Bull. It's thrilling, terrifying, and addictive in equal measure. The BMW's S14 engine, by contrast, is the anti-turbo. Naturally aspirated, high-revving, and tuned for razor-sharp throttle response, it's a little gem. At low revs, it feels slightly gutless compared to the Ford, but keep your foot in, let it scream past 6,000 RPM, and suddenly you're in a world of precision and mechanical harmony. It's less punch, more scalpel. So while the Ford feels like a hooligan shoving you in the back, the BMW feels like a surgeon carving corners into thin air. On the road, B-road ballet. Take the Cosworth down a British B-road and you'll find out why it became such a legend. The steering is heavy but full of feedback, the suspension taut but surprisingly forgiving, and the rear-wheel drive chassis always feels like it's just waiting to snap sideways if you so much as look at the throttle wrong. It's a car that wants to play, wants to scare you, and makes every mile feel like a qualifying lap. The BMW is different. More precise, more balanced, more composed. The steering is lighter but telepathically accurate, the chassis utterly planted, and the whole thing feels like it was born and bred on a racetrack. Whereas the Ford eggs you on to misbehave, the BMW encourages you to be tidier, smoother, better. It rewards skill, not bravado. Which one's better? Well, that depends. If you want to arrive at your destination sweaty-palmed and giggling, it's the Ford. If you want to arrive looking like you've just completed a flawless lap of the Nordschleife while simultaneously reciting Goethe, it's the BMW. Performance and numbers. On paper, the Ford edges it. 0-60 in 6.2 seconds versus 6.7 for the BMW, and a slightly higher top speed. In the real world, though, it's closer. The Cosworth's turbo lag means you need to be in the right gear at the right time, while the BMW's linear delivery means it's always ready to go. On a track, the M3 would probably shade it thanks to its consistency and balance. On the M1, back when it wasn't covered in cameras and average speed zones, the Ford would monster the fast lane. Image and ownership. In 1987, the image of each car was everything. The Cosworth was instantly labeled as the weapon of choice for boy racers, armed robbers, and anyone who spent more on gold chains than car insurance. Insurance companies ran screaming, and parents locked up their daughters. The M3, meanwhile, was subtler, rarer, and carried that all-important BMW badge. It was a car for enthusiasts who read Autocar cover to cover, not Max Power. It whispered DTM homologation special rather than shouting meet me at Southend seafront. Of course, both were expensive then, and both are even more expensive now. But back in the day, the difference in perception mattered hugely. Conclusion: which one wins? So, after 2,500 words, who takes the crown? The Ford Sierra RS Cosworth is raw, brutal, and hilarious. It's the kind of car that makes you feel alive, that makes you grin like an idiot every time the turbo spools. It's flawed, twitchy, and occasionally terrifying, but that's the point. The BMW M3, on the other hand, is sublime. It's not as immediately dramatic, but it's the more complete package. Balanced, precise, engineered with almost frightening thoroughness, it's the car that makes you a better driver. So which is best? Honestly, it depends whether you're wearing a leather jacket or a tailored blazer. The Cosworth is the hero of Essex. The M3 is the champion of Munich. But if you want a definitive answer, fine. For sheer thrill, the Cosworth wins. For lasting greatness, the M3 takes it. Either way, both cars remain legends, cars from an era when wings were big, engines were angry, and the only driver aids were your own skill and how much courage you could muster.